Hi, everyone. Have you been wondering if eBay is right for you, if you've got the right approach to it, and if you can even make any money on it at all? Well, this show is all about that topic. So buckle up and here we go. Welcome to the channel, everyone. I'm Prof Sales.
And I'm Karin.
And we are very glad that you stopped by. This is a live channel as well, so we have a live chat going. So we will be interacting with people in the chat, but we're going to talk today about eBay and if it's right for you or not. So we hope that you're interested in this topic, and we're going to jump right into it now that we're up and running. All right, so is eBay right for you? Now, what do I mean by that question? What does that mean to you, Karin, when we ask that question?
Well, you know what it means to me, Prof. The whole concept for this show started because it's not for everybody.
Right.
And we're going to kind of dissect, why it might not be for you. It's not rocket science, but certainly, there's different things that are going to determine if, one, you're going to be any good at it, two, if you're going to prosper, and three, if you're even going to like it.
All good points and good questions. And, I think a lot of people jump onto eBay, the platform, and they start selling, and they never even realize or never stop to think, hey, is this something I really want to do? They just think, well, I'm going to go on here and sell things and make money. And I'm not sure that's the right approach. So we wrote down, I guess, like a lot of these have to do with your mindset.
Oh, sure.
And they're somewhat about business and sourcing and things like that, but more so about how you approach all this. So we wrote down basically 5 things here that we think you need to have to be successful on eBay, to not even be successful, just to get on the platform and start selling. And if you're going to make a go of it, I don't mean if you're going to go on and sell a one-off, something that you have in your house that you just want to get rid of, that's different. But if you want to actually go on and start making some sort of part-time income, or even maybe make it into a business, your full-time income, I think you got to have some version of these things. So let's talk about the first one. Oops, as I lost my notes here. The first one is a desire to keep learning. This one trips up a lot of people. Have you noticed that? Like, people come on to eBay and they start selling, and then for whatever reason, they decide to just quit learning. Like, I know that I can sell, this Bruno Magli shoes, and I'm just going to sell these forever. And then they never want to learn anything else. And here's what ends up happening. Things change. And we'll get a little bit more in that in a moment. We'll talk about that. But the platform and the market and things like that can change. And they just decide to stay in the same rut. I'm going to keep doing it the same way. It's doing well for me, whatever well means. But, the people who are really successful in business, and they always want to keep learning. They always want to keep expanding their knowledge. They always want to find new and better ways to do things. They're always thinking about that. Because if you're not evolving, you're actually going backwards in a lot of cases, because other people are out there doing that.
Well, and I think you just said it. A lot of YouTubers will even joke about the word mindset is so overused. But I think you kind of touched on something. Mindset, it can be positive and negative. And you can either choose to have a solid or stagnant mindset, or maybe better, in this desire to keep learning, is that your mindset is flexible and open to learning new things. It's important.
Yeah, I would equate it to saying, like, for instance, you were going through grade school and so on, and maybe you get to like 8th grade and you decide, well, there's nothing else for me to learn, and you just want to stop at that point. Well, that's just not the case. I mean, of course there's other things you can learn. It's like learning is a lifetime process. You never stop. And I think if you don't, some people in the chat were saying you need to keep it interesting. And that's a great point. It's not very interesting if you get up and you do the exact same thing every day, the exact same way. Like, that can get old really fast. And that's why I like to think about eBay in terms of, it's always got to be an educational evolution.
Yeah. And so I'm going to throw a Karin twist on it. So, like, eBay is your lover, your significant other, because you said, just stay with me.
I don't know where this show's going.
So you have to keep it interesting, right? If you keep doing it, the same thing, if you sell the same box of Ritz crackers every day and it's the same, it's not gonna, yeah, no.
All right, we're going to rein this back in. So number 2 is slow your roll. And Karen wanted to talk about this one, which sounds like a great idea.
So just, again, stay with me, folks. Slow your roll. So one of the most, you know, there's a lot of things that come up a lot, especially with YouTube sellers. And for YouTube sellers, eBay sellers, and for an instant, I forgot even what I meant when I said add that to the thing. Let me slow my own roll. So when you come into it, selling on the eBay, you know, a lot of people want to come into it like all gangbusters. Like you know, you can do it, she can do it, well, I can do it. And it kind of speaks back to number 1, as far as the desire to keep learning. But, you know, take a step back. Don't go into it thinking you have all the answers. Because I guarantee you, you don't.
Right.
And if you give yourself some grace and some flexibility and just be humble and learn more things. We see so many times that people are like, you know, I'm doing everything right, or I'm not, or why is it not working, or whatever. And I just kind of have to sit back, and this is a Southern thing, but I have to say, just bless your heart, you know. And, you know, maybe you know what that means and maybe you don't. But it just basically means just kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself.
This is like cliche day.
Yes, I live a life of cliche. I don't think I could talk without them. But you know what I mean? Like, I think, is that what I wanted to convey by that line item?
I think so.
For the most part. Just like it's like being a bull in a china shop. I can do this all day, people. But it's like, you know, rushing in and just wanting to conquer all of the thingies all at once. And my suggestion to you is to take it, you know, a day at a time, one step at a time, because all of them doing it again. I can't help myself.
People like your cliches in the chat.
I can't stop.
I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting here.
I need therapy. But that's my point by that. Just sort of, you know, step back,
right?
Take a deep breath and slow your roll. Agreed.
Totally agree. So number 3. And this one trips up, I think, a lot of people. And I guess I somewhat understand it. But I called this one, I'm not going to say it correctly, probably. You have to have a customer service mindset. Because the reality is this. Yes, the buyer on the other end of a transaction or a conversation with you about an item or items you're selling, they probably know that you're not a huge retailer, a huge e-commerce retailer, but it doesn't matter. They expect world-class customer service. Honestly, they do. And a lot of eBayers, a lot of people who jump onto the platform, they come on with this mindset of, I want to list my item, get full price for it, the highest price it's going for on the platform, sell it to a buyer, hope it gets there okay, and never hear from that buyer again if there's a problem. If that's you, get off of eBay right now. Because I'm going to tell you, that is not going to be your experience, because guess what? You're not always going to get top dollar for it. Guess what? Nobody cares that you paid $20 for it and now you're selling it for $30 and not really making much profit.
Well, and nobody also cares about the emotional attachment. Like, nobody cares that you got it on your first trip to the Grand Canyon. Or
Nobody cares that you did everything you could to package it well and shipped it to them and it got broke and now you don't feel like it should be your fault. The buyer doesn't care. All they know is they bought something from you and it's not what they thought. And the reality is then you have to deal with them. You have to handle them with customer service gloves. And if you don't have a mindset towards that, buyers will not only not come back to you, but eventually you even run the risk of damaging your account. If you're not meeting your shipping times and your handling times, if you're not resolving disputes with customers, with buyers, without eBay stepping in, you're going to lose your ability to sell on the platform. It's going to hurt your rating, your feedback, everything. So I think you have to have that customer service mindset. And I had this woman who messaged me, and she messaged me about 3 different pair of jeans. It was 3 separate messages. And she said, isn't it cool that I found somebody that's got a lot of jeans that I like? I'm not done shopping your store yet. I'm sorry. I'm not done shopping your store yet, but I love that you've got so many jeans that I like. And I'm like, well, that's great. And she asked me, she said, if I buy multiple jeans from you, items, is there a way that I could get a multi-item discount? Now, the person who thinks, well, I've got all my stuff priced fairly and I shouldn't have to give them a discount because it's at the market value. And it's not my fault that, you know, that's what the market can get for these things. I'm not giving her a discount. Of course, I'm going to give her a discount. Of course, I'm going to give her a discount because I'm selling multiple items. If I sell 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 items to her, now I don't have to deal with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other or buyers. And guess what she's going to do? She's going to give me great feedback. I'm going to save on shipping probably because I can bundle them all together in one package instead of sending 5 separate packages to 5 different buyers. So you've got to have that mindset of taking care of your customer, guys. I mean, if you don't, selling things to people, I'm just going to say it like that.
People didn't think they were signing up for a, you know, you shouldn't be selling show today, did they? Keeping it real, folks. Keeping it real.
Yeah, I just am a firm believer that you have to have the right mindset to sell on eBay if you're going to do it in volume.
Yeah, a one and done is another thing.
That's different.
If you really want to get good at it or do it long term, bigger picture, whatever, yes.
Yes.
It's not all about you.
No, it's not. It's not. There's a buyer on the other end. They don't care about your personal situation. Promise. It's just reality. It's cold hard truth. That's what we're about here. It's cold hard truth. All right. So number 4.
Adapt to changing platforms, rules, the market, etc. Adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
We've said that before, and we mean it. Yeah,
that's the reality. Is this eBay will change. I don't know how to say it any more blunt than that. The way you're doing it today, the rules they have in place, the fee structure, the way that things get listed, and the way the store looks or runs, discounts, it will change. I promise you, it will change sooner or later. And it might change drastically. It might be so much different from when you started that you wouldn't even recognize it. So if you are going to sign up to sell on this platform, you have to be able to adapt to that change.
Well, ask anybody that's been doing this for 2, 5, 10, 15, even 20 years, 18.
Right.
It's drastically different from then.
Think about the way you shop is drastically different.
Oh, sure.
Right? I mean, 20 years ago, you wrote checks for things. You had to have your checkbook out. You couldn't check your smartphone because they didn't exist to find out how much money you had in the bank. You had to keep a written record of it. And you probably wrote a check a lot of times. I mean, debit cards and credit cards came along too. Don't get me wrong. But you shop differently. You didn't shop online. You couldn't compare. You couldn't compare prices between things online because there was no there was an internet, but it wasn't connected the way it is now to even find out, hey, is this really a good deal or not? I mean, everything changes, guys. Like, why are we so afraid of change?
Why are we such sticks in the mud? And I have to laugh because you're kind of dating yourself. There's probably people in this chat right now that don't even know what it's like to walk barefoot up a hill 2 miles to get to school. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have rough. Some of these things.
Like shoes.
No, we had shoes. You guys know what I mean. But like priority mail, that wasn't a thing.
No.
Not let alone flat rate priority mail. I can remember when that first came out. That was
right.
A brilliant thing, right? So it all.
The reality is this, guys. However things are for you on eBay right now, you may think, oh, this is perfect. I love the way it's set up. Don't change a thing. But it changed to get to that point. It didn't start out that way, and it's not going to stay that way because things change for all kinds of reasons. I mean, you have to be able to embrace that. Buying taste will change. Today may not be what you're selling a year from now or 5 years from now. Chances are it won't. Not exactly. But I love the quote that Bezos had the CEO of Amazon. And I think I've mentioned this on the show before. And this is how you learn how to be a good seller on eBay. They asked him, you know, what will be different 5 and 10 years from now in terms of selling and so on, e-commerce? And he said, well, that's an interesting question. But the really interesting question is what will be the same 5 or 10 years from now? And he's positioned Amazon to be a leader in selling things cheaply with a wide variety of items and getting them to the customers quickly. That probably won't be different 10 years from now. People will still want those things.
People want to pay the least and get it quick. And
get it quick and have a wide selection. There's always going to be a big market for those 3 particular metrics. And that's very smart. So if you want to be a seller on eBay, you know, you got to think about, well, what's going to be the same? People, they want things to have great, let's say it still remains photographs. They want things with, you know, great photos. They want an accurate description. I'm not saying it has to be a book, but it's got to be accurate. They want it at a competitive price. It may be the lowest, but maybe not. It may be the highest, but maybe not. They want it shipped to them securely and quickly. Now, there are exceptions, and some things people don't care about certain parts of that equation as much as others, but those things stay pretty common throughout the years. So, but as far as how eBay will look and, you know, the exact structure of it, that is absolutely going to change. If you don't want that, quit selling on it right now.
Are we going to end each of these with if, then quit?
Yes. If this, then quit.
Yep.
And number 5, the last one, 5, we should have named it 5 reasons eBay may not be right for you.
Oh, well, that would make too much sense.
And we put this one in capital letters, guys. All right. So I would say this is the number 1 reason why eBay may or may not be right for you. All right.
Drum roll.
And this is, oh, now you're building up too much. So, and this is how I put it. And it goes like this. Not everything sells when you think it will sell and for the amount you think it will sell. It doesn't. It doesn't. How many of you in the chat or how many of you in the comments after this video have sold something for less than you thought you would get and it took longer to sell it? Mm-hmm. I'm still waiting on some things. If you, it drives me nuts when I see in some of the groups, I've had this item listed for 4 days and it hasn't sold. And I'm going, are you kidding me? 4 days? You know, like we get on eBay. There are people who seem to get on eBay and think they have this preconceived notion it's going to sell in this amount of time. No, you don't know. Not necessarily. I mean, there are all kinds of reasons why your item might sell really quickly, and there's all kinds of reasons why your item might sit for a long time. Some you have control over, some you don't. But how long it takes to sell is a combination of factors: visibility, your listings, your competitiveness, your competition, how competitive you are on price. How many people are searching for that item and buying that item right now? The seasonality can play. I mean, there's so many variables.
How realistic you are with what you're selling and how much you're selling it for.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you shouldn't expect things to ever sell, but this is why, like, if you made an eBay business based on just buying one item at a time and then selling it before you bought your next item, that would be really difficult. For me to sell this pair of shoes over here and say, well, I'm going to wait till that pair sells before I buy another pair. I might be waiting a long time and it might sell for 30% less than I thought. It might sell for full price, but you are not guaranteed to sell your item in a set amount of time for a set price. You're just not. That's just not the way it works. So I think the better approach is put a lot of bait in the water and you're going to catch some fish. You're going to catch some fish. But if you limit your choices way down, the less you limit, the tougher it becomes to predict exactly how much you're going to sell because of all those factors. So don't think you're entitled to something selling a week after you put it up and for full price. You're not. And if you approach eBay with that mindset, I think you're going to be really disappointed a lot of the time. You really are. I'll go back and use a poker analogy. You know, I used to play Texas Hold'em, and I would hear people say at tournaments things like, oh, I hate getting pocket aces, which is the best starting hand, because I lose with them all the time, which mathematically is not true. But you're not guaranteed to win every time you get them either. It's not like it's 100%. So this is the same way. You're not guaranteed to sell it for the amount you think you will, and it may or may not sell in a time frame that is okay with you. And we still have some things that have been setting for a long time. I sold something today that was 288 days old. You know, what was that the right amount of time? I don't know. Somebody found it, saw it, and bought it. Am I happy that it sold? Yes. Do I wish it would have sold quicker than 288 days? Yes. Did I have any control over that? Probably not.
Would you call that a long tail item, Prof?
Yes.
So,
but it was not.
Vocab word of the day, new resellers, long tail. If you ever hear that, it means won't sell tomorrow, might take a while.
Right. Right. And you can talk about categories of items and how long they'll take to sell. But honestly, even that doesn't tell the story, because if you ask me in November how quickly jeans are selling from the time I list them, that average might be 27, 28, 29 days. If you ask me in June, that total might be over 100 days.
Here's a pro tip. Don't ask him in June.
Yeah, don't ask in June. Should I sell jeans in June, Prof? Maybe in the Southern Hemisphere, but I don't think so much in the Northern.
Well, and we get this a lot. The top two things that we get from new resellers are, you know, I'm not selling anything this time of year in particular, right?
Yeah.
I'm not selling anything. What am I doing wrong? And I'm not, you know, so I'm not selling anything. What am I doing wrong? And the time it takes, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's, well, they come on to YouTube or they come on to whatever platform, Facebook, whatever, and they see how other people are doing it and they try to mimic it. It's this, if you can do it, I think you're an idiot, so I can do it better.
Right.
And I don't mean it that way, but you know what I mean? Sometimes we make judgments on people and think that just because they're able to, we have this idea that we can just assume that we're going to do it better. And until you get in the trenches of it, it's a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely agree. You really don't know, and your experience will be different than our experience. You know, there will be some similarities, but I was just having this discussion with a couple other reseller friends of mine about, hey, if I imitate this person's model or imitate that person's model, I should get these results. And I'm always cautious about that because, first of all, I don't like playing the comparison game against someone else because I don't know their situation. I don't know their expertise. I'm obviously not going to do it exactly the way they do it. But what I will compare is my results versus myself. That is meaningful. I can look and see how much I'm listing versus myself. I can look and see what are my sales looking like versus myself. I can look and see, I can make some determination about, well, do my listings look better? Do they have better keywords? Are the photos in focus? All these things, does my pricing seem, you know, competitive with the market? I can look at those things, but to compare myself to somebody else, it's not really fair because their model's always going to be a little different. Their sourcing cost is going to be different. Their approach is going to be different. There's just no way for me to pick out another eBayer and say, if I do it exactly like them, I'll get exactly the results. You won't. You might get similar, but I just don't think you can get perfect like that.
Well, and there's a couple of comments that I want to, and they actually went back to back, but Sarah says, it is discouraging. This was my first summer. You can work and work and work for nothing. It happens, but push on.
Right.
And I love that last part where she said push on, because for me, eBay, it levels the playing field. It's a sort of natural selection, survival of the fittest atmosphere, right?
Right.
You're either going to make it, you're going to tread water, or you're not going to make it. And she sums that up. And then Jennifer said, with regard to your imitating someone else, you can imitate, however, you don't know what they're not telling you.
Sure.
And a lot of times with people in the YouTube public eye, It's very much a social media, Facebook kind of presentation. And you'll hear a lot of the criticisms of Facebook and Instagram in that people only put out and they show you the happy photos, the good times, the prosperous times. You know, you don't, which is good, I think. But you can't just show half of the picture.
Right.
To be accurate, you need to know the whole picture. So yeah, you're right. Take it all with a grain of salt, because for, you know, everything good, I guarantee you there's some other struggle or challenge that people are having to overcome, and you have to discover what those are for you.
I heard a quote the other day, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't know if I'll get it totally right, but it said something like, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Because and there's a lot of truth to that. You will absolutely fail if you try things enough and you try them hard enough, because the point is, it's like, you're not really stretching yourself to the point past failure. If I said, all right, I want to get up today and list one item, stretching myself, or, you know, I want to, you know, achieve a sales goal of this amount that I've gone way past in the past. Like, that doesn't make any sense for me. So you have to kind of stretch and find sort of where your breaking points are with this, and then push through those. I mean, that's how you grow. You don't really grow from doing things that you're already capable of doing. You grow from trying to do things you've never done before. And sometimes you're going to fail at those. But anyway, so that was just, you know, basically 5 quick thoughts we had about, I don't know if they were that quick, but 5 thoughts we had about, is eBay right for you? And, you know, you gotta have the right mindset about this, guys, or you will absolutely be very frustrated, and it will not be an enjoyable experience. I don't think it'll be a very successful experience either.
Do we recap, or do we suggest that they just go back and watch it again or something?
Yeah, we could recap real quick. Go ahead.
So you need to have a desire to keep learning. Slow your roll. You don't know all the thingies, and just because he's doing it or she's doing it doesn't mean that you're going to just come into it knowing everything. Have a customer service mindset. If you're not thinking about making happy customers, then this is not the platform for you. Adapt to changing platforms, rules, markets, etc. Adapt or die. We touched on that. And I'm going to read your big, long, all cap sentence. Not everything sells when you think it will sell, or for the amount you think it will sell for. Drop the mic.
And someone said, no tons of cliches.
Oh, did I not?
That somebody said that.
Oh no, I thought you meant no, like N-O. Aw, I love Sarah.
All right, guys. So, by the way, thank you guys for joining us today. Over 90 people, which is awesome for a midday show. We do appreciate it. Really check out the links down below. There's lots of good info down there. Subscribe to the channel. And what else should they do, Karn, if they like the content?
They should splash the like button.
Splash the like button. That's a new one.
It's from me being at the beach.
Yes, Karn was at the beach, in case you can't tell. I was not. And I told her, hey, one word, sunscreen.
No, I forgot the sunscreen.
Yeah, she did not grab all the sunscreen thingies. All right, so, and if you guys have questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Type the word question, or, you know, a few question marks in front of your question, just so we can figure out that it is a question. So, and of course, if you have questions after this video post, leave them in the comments down below. If it's your first time coming on the channel, thank you very much for watching. We're glad that you're here and part of this community. And we would like to hear from you and just what your impressions were of this show. So please leave that down below if you're watching later, or if you're watching right now, you can leave it after the video finishes processing. You can leave a comment. So that would be great. All right, what else we got to talk about here?
Where are we?
Right there.
Okay, so what is this? Are we in Q3? Quarter 3, third
Q3.
quarter?
Q3.
Guess what's coming up after Q3? Q4.
4 Horsemen. That one's for you, Hank. She'll know that one.
Aw, yeah.
So yeah, fourth quarter is right around the corner. Now, most people consider the fourth quarter to be October, November, December. and because those are the busiest selling months of the year. So I'm curious what everybody's plan is for fourth quarter for your business.
What are you doing? What, if anything, are you doing? Because some people, you say Q4 and they're like, how is that any different than any other day? But what are you doing, if anything, to prepare for Q4?
Yeah.
Because we're already noticing that our sales
are going up.
Are going up. Yes.
Yes. Like we're starting to hit the period of back to school right now. So you'll start seeing some pickup in some items. And Q4 is around the corner. You will sell more. You will you'll have more packing and shipping to do. You'll have less time to source and photo. You know, so what are your thoughts on what you're doing for Q4? Any hints you have? And people are saying in the chat, do used items and clothing sell well for Q4? Yes. Everything sells better in Q4, just about. Just because people get in a buying mode, Tamara, and, you know, that's just the way people think about it. So Q4 is now, especially for jeans. Yeah, actually, October is usually the peak month, at least for me, for jeans. So the weather's got to get a little cooler, at least feel for fall and so on. But yeah, this is obviously a great time. Jeans start picking up here. Jen says listing in all caps.
Not just listing. Listing.
And you got to be buying too, right?
Yes.
You got to be buying, because if you're listing things and they're selling, you're going to be, you know, depleting your inventory. Stocking up on thick wool socks, knee socks, fun, warm, cozy things. Kelly sells a lot of socks.
Is that from our sock goddess?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Let's see. More new with tags. Let's pre-owned. Okay. I stock up in summer for winter. That makes sense. So are you stocking up with these? Yeah, a lot of thrift stores are trying to push out last minute things here that they have for summer. You could even be buying summer stuff right now and spring stuff, and just sit on it. You can list it too if you have the time and manpower to do it. But hiring people for seasonal help, someone mentioned, that's a great tip. You know, just bringing them on for 2 or 3 months just to get more listings up, get your packing and shipping done, things like that. Just trying to be proactive. Let's see.
Billy says, plan to buy higher margin items. That's always a good idea, by the way.
Yeah, higher margin items is always great because obviously you don't need to sell as many of them. So if you can find items that you can sell for higher margin, you're going to make the same dollars, but you're not going to have to sell as many, you're going to have to list as many, not photograph as many. So, I mean, I think all these are great tips. We are definitely ramping up our sourcing, ramping up our listing. We've got a whole row of shoes right behind this computer that we're going to be listing today, as well as I've been listing more jeans lately as well. And definitely been noticing an uptick just in the last, probably week or so, maybe 2 weeks. So we're definitely, my new pricing structure is definitely paying off, and I'm moving some older items that have been setting for a while. So I'm excited about that. And there's a question here too.
Is that a real question?
If I sell everything for $11.99, won't my sell-through rate go up tremendously? The small margin with high volume equals high profit, right? It depends, D. I wouldn't say that's always the case.
You got to be able to maintain some mad volume to make that work, right?
Well, right. And the other thing is too, you know, if you sell everything at I'm assuming by your question, D, that you're saying you're selling everything at a low price for whatever your category of items you're selling is. And won't you sell more of them? Not always. Not always. I mean, you know, if you're selling a brand of something that goes for a lot more money normally, yes, there's always going to be that bargain conscious customer who will buy items at a lower price. But price imputes value.
Of course, perceived value. I totally agree.
You know, and you can only capture so much of that lower end market, I believe. Like, I just don't think you could dump higher end stuff and just sell it at an extremely accelerated rate. I mean, you may see some uptick, no question. I'm not arguing that. But I don't know that it's just all going to fly out the door You know, if you started selling Miss Me jeans for $10, yes, you're going to sell some of them for sure. Some of them do sell. But there's other people who will question that and say, well, what's wrong with them? What are you not telling me? Why are you selling this so low? Like they're suspicious of it. And those people would not even bat an eyelash at buying those jeans for $30 or $40 because they would expect to pay that amount. So I just think you got to be careful with that strategy. Obviously, it can work for certain items and certain categories. But, you know, I'll just give you one quick example. I see an awful lot of fidget spinners sitting around for 99 cents. There's just not enough market for them. You know, there's just not. And they're very low. But, and again, it's very category and niche dependent. And obviously, just what's the size of the market too. But I just always caution against that.
Well, you mentioned sourcing. We need to be sourcing more.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do some sourcing recently? I'm creating a segue.
Oh, yes. Sourcing. Oh, yeah. So
somebody's got to keep the flow.
Yeah, I went into, well, Luke of Endless Entrepreneurs, his channel, he has a channel on YouTube, Endless Entrepreneurs, so check that out if you haven't seen it before. He lives near me, and what were you saying?
We could like throw a rock in his
So
house.
yeah, he's very close, like 10 minutes away. So he asked me if I wanted to go sourcing Saturday, and he was having some work done on his car, so I met him where he dropped his car off, and, you know, we hit a couple stores. But I had a kind of interesting thing happen to me, and it's along this topic. Maybe I will find them. Stay here. I'll get them.
I'm not allowed to move.
She's not allowed to move. Carry the show while I'm gone.
It's no pants Monday. It is pretty funny, but I'm still not allowed to move. So.
Yeah, I'm coming. All right, I'm back.
I carried the show.
This is
with the Muppets theme, right?
So we have a value village local to us.
Oh, this is cool. How come you get to show and tell?
Because it's just this one item. So Luke and I go in there Saturday morning because the Goodwill wasn't open actually, and we found all these Cinch jeans. Some of you guys have heard of this brand before.
Cowboy pants.
Yeah, they're basically like more of a Western type denim. And they're all new with tags. And there's different labels of them. This one I think is a white label. I'm not super expert on these jeans. But, you know, this brings up an interesting question about sell-through, guys, because we found, or I found like probably 20 pair of these new with tags, okay? But there's a couple caveats here. First of all, that value village, and Adam says my value village is way overpriced. Ours is too, and all these new items were $12.50, which is pretty darn high to pay for jeans, right? But a lot of these will sell from like $40 to $60 new with tags, depending on which label you get and so on. So I had the option. I could have bought all of them, and they're actually, a couple of them are some funky sizes. Like you can even see the tag right there at the $12.50. This is not a funky size, it's $36.32. But there was some with some funky links and so on.
Well, a lot of times the cinch will be like, I don't remember the word, but they'll have no hem. So they'll be like, whenever you see a pant that's like a 32, 38, it's just not been hemmed to the right height.
Right.
And a lot of times that's why we call them cowboy pants, because they're made that way for tall.
Yeah. Well, cowboys. So, and people are asking, you know, hey, I would have bought them all, or will they take a lower price? They would not take a lower price. They will not bargain with you. If it's new, it will never get marked down. It will never be discounted by the tag color. And I decided not to buy them all. I bought 5 or 6 pair, I believe. And the reason I did was because, first of all, it was a good chunk of cash to outlay for 20 items. Granted, they will sell, and they'll sell for a good amount of money. But it will take a while. And I'm going to be, you know, it'll take a while to flip that money back out. However, you know, they will sell for good money. There's no question on that. But it just wasn't something I was super comfortable going deep on because I didn't feel like the sell through was going to be super fast on them. So I was going to be so I was going to end up spending like, it was at least 20. I would end up spending about what's that, 20 times 12? It's about $250 for all of them. You know, I don't know. Like in retrospect, should I bought them all? Maybe. They'll definitely sell, but I'm trying to move inventory right now and not sit on items for 6 months. So we'll see. And Luke bought a few of them too, but you've just got to decide, like, what are you comfortable going that deep in on a particular item? And because I couldn't get any discount, I was like, so really, I mean, granted, if I sell, you know, 2 of them, it pretty much pays for what I paid. But in terms of gross, and then after that, it's just kind of profit. But you have to kind of be comfortable with going deep in something like that if you have the opportunity. They were all kind of different sizes, so there wouldn't have been too many that would have been the same. I couldn't have done multi-quantity. But we'll see what happens. I'll kind of let you guys know. And Brian's saying to auction them and see what happens. That's a great tip. I might try that.
Well, and we've talked about experimenting, you in particular, because you don't do a lot of auctions, if any.
I don't. And I think, you know, they're a little bit more long tail, not long tail items, but they are, you know, I feel like if I would have gotten all 20 of them, it probably would have taken a year to sell them. Granted, great profit. Don't get me wrong. Not arguing that. But I definitely I didn't feel like, you know, I don't know that I really want to drop quite that. Plus, there were some other things I was buying in that store. I bought 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, and we were still going to the Goodwill as well. Where our Goodwill, our jeans are like $5, which is, you know, so we'll see how they go. But I think when you have opportunities like that, you should at least, you know, as somebody said, dip your toes in the pool. I think you should. You need to kind of learn those things and say, all right, well, this is a good deal. It's right here in front of me. How many other Cinch jeans am I ever going to find new with tags? Probably never. I mean, these obviously came from some sort of, you know, bulk buy that, you know, Value Village got. I don't know how they got it, but anyway, I just want to share that with you guys. For $12.50, they must have gotten them probably pretty cheap.
Well, and sometimes you want to jump all in. This is not one of those times, obviously, because we're on a budget and we have a plan going forward. And that $250 at the overpriced Value Village would go so much further on outlet day, bin day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where we're paying
that would be
$1.50
that would be,
a pound or whatever.
Yeah, that would be over 100 pair of jeans at the outlet.
So,
and down in Columbia, it would be 250 pair of jeans, literally.
And you know, you weren't the only one sourcing with a budget over the weekend, right?
That's true.
Not only did I get this fabulous tan, but I shopped the what town was I in? That was Fernandina Beach. I was in Amelia Island with my son over the weekend, and I went to a Goodwill there, and their prices were expensive, but I still, you know, one of the things we've been doing when we scaled back on our buys over the summer when it's slow is that we purposefully seek out the home run pants or home run jeans. So we're not going through and grabbing all the thingies. We're just kind of grabbing all the bestest thingies. So I ended up coming away. I had what did you give me? Like $50 I could spend.
She's like, what's my budget? I'm like,
I could spend $50 whole all by myself. I had a company credit card. At least I have that now. But anyway, I ended up.
The debit card.
I ended up getting.
Let's be clear.
It doesn't have an endless, bottomless.
No.
Oh, but anyway, I ended up with 2 pair of shoes and 5 pair of jeans. Yeah. And they were pretty sweet.
Yeah, she did great. They were awesome.
A pair of Echo boots and some really cool. Those shoes were really cool too. Remember those? And then the jeans were just, you know, there were a lot to go through. But there you go. So the point of that story was opportunities come up. Like you had to take Luke. You know, we're going to help him with his car. So, hey, we're on that side of town anyway.
And by the way, what's funny is this is true, a true story. Luke and I don't shop Value Village. We don't source it because it's overpriced and it's not a great selection a lot of times. And the only reason we went in was because Goodwill was not open yet. It was like 8:30 or 8:45 in the morning, and Goodwill wasn't open for another 30 minutes. So, and he scored some items too, as well as the Cinch jeans. I think he got some other new with tag items. He found like a Brooks Brothers new with tag sweater, which was pretty nice.
So if you're on vacation, it can't hurt. You know, I know that you don't like to bring work on vacation, but for me, I like to, even if it's a learning experience, I'll purposefully go into a Goodwill. Like when I was in somewhere in Florida, I want to say like Daytona Beach or, you know, Melbourne or something, the prices were unbelievable. Like they were really high. And we could not sustain those prices.
I think that's why maybe some of you guys are in Florida. Maybe in Florida in general, it seems like they're kind of high on their thrift stores.
Well, in Atlanta, like we would never, like it would be hard for us to buy in the Atlanta area because Atlanta jeans are what, like $8 now?
$8 or $8.50 or something like that. Yeah, they're kind of pricey too. And that extra like $3, that adds up. I mean, that's a lot of money out of your pocket. You've really got to be a little more selective if you want to recoup your investment when you're spending $8 on a pair of used jeans.
Yeah. So in the thrifter toolbox, I think we're all opportunists. And when the opportunity arises, take advantage of it.
Yeah, so we'll see how I do with my Cinch jeans. They're nice jeans, no doubt about it. I mean, they're quality jeans.
And who knows? Maybe we'll get back to, you know, driving by there and we'll go peek in on them and grab up all the Cinch thingies. Who knows?
Yeah, they're probably still there because most people who shop that store are not resellers, and even if they are, they're not going to pay $12.50 for a pair of jeans. They're just not.
Yeah. Well, and you even got some shoes there, which is, we never buy shoes at Value Village. We just don't. They really like them there.
Yeah. Yeah, I found a couple like a Dr. Scholl's, Katie, loafers, and I also found those the Body Shop Hush Puppies that were pretty much new.
Weren't those Nayot sandals?
Oh, the Nayot sandals from there. That's right. I think
those were sweet.
Dr. Scholl's Goodwill.
Yep,
yeah, Nayot sandals. Nayot in general is a great brand if you've never picked it up for shoes.
That's another cowboy brand. N-A-O-T. Yeah, they make boots. That's how I know them.
Oh, they make boots. I got you. Okay. So, all right, what else we got?
Any other questions?
No, I think we got them all. Other than what sells fast. Oh, what?
There's one.
Yeah, what sells faster? The Cinch jeans are $250 worth your bread and butter. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that because I haven't sold enough Cinch jeans to really know that. I think I've only sold maybe a couple pair. I don't really find them that often in this area of the country.
Well, by virtue of the name.
Do you know what? Did we see that in that that blue gold thing? Like, or maybe it wasn't blue gold. I read it some other day. Like Levi's, for instance, were not even sold east of the Mississippi until like the 1960s or something like that. Like they were all only sold out west. Like if you wanted to get them, you had to go to like a dry goods store in like Wyoming or something or somewhere out west. I thought that was interesting. Like, and now we think about all these goods are kind of everywhere, but there's still parts of the country where you find more of one brand or one type than another just because of local influences and things like that. So, you know, when you hear people say, "Oh, I've never found that," and you're like, "How could they never find that? I got tons of them here." Yeah. There's still some regionality to brands and certain types of items and so on. We saw when we were down in Austin, there was a lot more cowboy boots at their thrift stores. That kind of made sense because of the area of the country. Not a lot of cowboys in North Carolina, turns out.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking about what I was going to say next. So yeah, so we've never had a big pile of Cinch. It's only been ones or two, so it's hard to say. But what I started to say earlier was by virtue of the name bread and butter, they would sell more regularly. That's our bread and butter brands are going to be the ones that sustain us. So we'll, you know, this will be again, we'll take one for the team and we'll experiment with this gluttony of sorts of Cinch. You know, we just sold another brand that we don't talk about a lot. We just sold was it the only one? Nudie jeans.
Nudie sold. If you heard me talk about these a few months ago.
The Nudies finally sold. And I think it's
they weren't crazy. They're like $30.
I don't, have we ever sold? Is that one of our one-offs where we've only ever sold?
Some Nudie go a lot higher than that. But these were not like the kind of the higher end ones. They were sort of a little bit lower end. But $30 for a used pair of jeans, pre-owned, it's still good. So, but I'm sure these won't be bad to list. In fact, it'll probably be a Cinch. So anyway.
So Kelly says that she's thinking about, or he I can't read. I don't have my glasses on, but thinking about getting a job at Goodwill so that they can source the thingies. So let me tell you, in our Goodwills, they don't let you do that.
Yeah.
Like supposedly there's a strict rule, because we've talked to, employees, especially at the one here by the house, where they cannot shop on when they're on the clock.
Right.
I don't even think they can shop on days that they're working.
Right. I think they can only shop on their days off, I believe, and they can't have anything held. Which makes sense.
Yeah. And that's by the letter of the law. I'm sure we've seen, wheeling and dealing going on with people. And
but it still wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to learn some product knowledge and learn how their system works. If you could do that, that might be worth it.
I could do it. I might be too, I don't know, ungoodwilly. There
you go. Too ungoodwilly. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you very much for watching. I think that's going to do it for today's show. So we want to say a special thanks to everybody who came out today and watched this live.
Yes. We always like the liveness.
Right. And if you need any products or info about this channel and so on, you can look in the description down below, including these awesome song racks, song mix, shoe racks, song racks. If you want to get these racks for your shoes or awesome little racks, there's some links down there to find those in the description. And we will be back on Wednesday. Right now is the plan at 2 o'clock.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. 2 and 2. Who used to do that? Do you remember the game show?
No, I'm not old.
Wasn't that Chuck Woolery? We'll be back in 2 and 2.
It was Chuck Woolery.
Yeah. And so anyway, there's your pop culture reference of the day, sort of. But we hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you just in a couple days, actually.
We'll catch you on the flip side.
That was
I don't even know what that was. Just hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing, and remember to choose that little alarm bell thingy so that when we are here, you can be reminded to join us, because we certainly love to have you, and we're creating a community here, one show at a time.
So. All right, guys. So ask that question: is eBay right for you? And if it's not, do something else. That's gonna do it. I'm Prof Sales,
and I'm Karin, saying good sales to you.